Yo, what up guys? Kawaii Kid coming at you with another video, this time about the good and bad, and the questionable, about the Legion expansion. I know I'm a little bit late, everyone's already done their video about this, but I was kind of stuck at Burning Man for a couple extra weeks that I didn't think I was going to be, so I didn't get to play the game until it was almost 2 weeks after the launch of the game, so I'm just now getting like a good sense of how everything is going. So I'm going to start this video out with the good. Which there's going to be way more good than there is bad. That's probably seeing the game new, so I'm still excited about all these things. I'll do a video down the road, a couple months after things have gotten released and balanced and stuff like that, and kind of go over my new opinions. But for now, let's go over the good. So first of all, most classes are feeling like how their lore is, and they have good class fantasy. For a while there, everyone kind of just felt the same. There was no real flavor of the classes, and now there is. You can go to your class hall for every single spec, and the game has different quests, and you really feel like you are whatever class you're playing, especially with like the artifacts, which are freaking awesome for the most part. I mean, there's a few that are kind of bland, like let's just say all the Death Knights are pretty boring, but there's not a lot there for some of the specs of Death Knights in lore to have cool weapons, but still most of them are really cool. I mean, I remember they kind of blew it out of proportion, but the Ashbringer being available, oh my god, that blew my mind. I was so excited, kind of disappointed to see that Ret Paladins are kind of not in a good position right now. That was actually the first character that I rolled as soon as I got back from Burning Man. I was just sat down, computer, got my Paladin up, got my Ashbringer. Oh man, it was so nice. And then saw what they did to the Ret Paladin class, and I didn't really like it. Anyways, next point. Quests in this game are actually really fun. They all have like really interesting storylines. Some of them, go kill 10 boars, come back. But even those quests have a reason why you're doing them, and they're in between like a lot of cinematics. So I think this game has this expansion has the most cinematics that I've seen out of any WoW expansion, and it really enhances the questing experience. And then there's tons of voice acting too, even on like little people that you wouldn't even think would have voice acting. That's nice. So that even helps the story progress. Even if you don't read the text of the quests themselves, you'll kind of get a feel of what's going on just by hearing the NPCs talk to each other. So you still feel like you're in the world and like getting an advancement of the story, even if you're not reading all the text, which I'm assuming a lot of you guys aren't. My first playthrough, I did read most of the text, and it's really interesting, and you get to see like this world develop. And I would suggest that if you don't read the text of all the quests, on your next alt level up to 110, I would highly suggest just go through it slow and read all the text on the quests. It'll blow your mind, and then you can really feel like you're more in the world. One of the reasons I think that a lot of people are kind of stray away from MMOs is because the stories aren't that good. This one has a really good story, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens. Let's see what else. Next, zones are really awesome in this game. Probably the best zones so far. I mean, Val'sharah, oh my god. The first time I stepped foot in Val'sharah, I was like blown away. It really gave me a nostalgic feeling for like the first time. I remember I rolled a Night Elf right when Vanilla came out, and I was running through Ashenvale, and right when I hit Ashenvale, I just looked up, and the trees were like so tall, and yeah, oh my god, it blew my mind. That's kind of how I felt like going into Val'sharah. I was like, wow, this looks almost like the Emerald Dream. And then when you actually get to go to the Emerald Dream when you're a druid, oh my god, it's so awesome. All right, next point, dungeons. Dungeons are pretty interesting in this game. They're not super long, but all the bosses have interesting mechanics, and like every single boss is different, which is cool. There's not any tank and spanks really. They all have interesting mechanics that you have to deal with, and then you have to deal with different ones depending on if you're doing, normal, heroic, or mythic. And now we have Mythic Plus, which is going to make it harder and harder, and they get different affixes. And yeah, dungeons are definitely interesting. So 5-mans are back on the menu, boys. And, I think queue times are going to be way less than they were in previous expansions, just because people are going to need to keep going back to older dungeons to continue getting things. So that'll help with the queue times, especially what they've done for tank and healer rewards in dungeons. Really good. Like yesterday, I decided to take a tank a dungeon because it had the bag. Got the bag. It gave me artifact power, which, by the way, the artifact power from bags is account bound, so you can trade it to your other characters. So say you're gonna go queue up on one of your DPS and you notice that tanks are getting bags right now. Cool. I'll just go on my tank and tank this, and then give the artifact power to my other DPS or something like that. And you could stack them up and save them up for when you want to play a different class down the road. Also, I get 858 gold from that one dungeon, and also these little trinkets that give you buffs, like small buffs for a little bit of time. So it's really nice. They really did awesome on dungeons and giving tank and healer rewards to kind of incentivize them to play and make dungeon queue times less. All right. God, heroics right now for DPS is like less than 10 minutes, which is pretty dang good. Next is we're finally out in the world again, which is cool because it makes us feel like the world is actually alive, and that's awesome. Warlords of Draenor, everyone was just sitting around in their garrison all day, and I don't really want to get into that game, but yeah, seeing people out in the world and doing quests, and everyone gets the same world quest, so like the world really feels alive. Hopefully they manage to keep incentivizing people to get out into the world and do things. It'll keep world PvP alive. It'll keep, it'll make the world feel like an actual world. So eventually, once everyone has all their artifact power for their weapons and stuff, and they're not really grinding out in the world, hopefully they can keep giving incentives to go out there and do things. What else we got? That brings me to the point of no flying mounts. I think that's the coolest idea ever. No flying mounts really makes it so you have to be on the ground, you have to go across the terrain, you have to see other people, you have to cross paths with other people. It makes the world feel alive more. Like when there's just flying mounts, it's like you see someone coming, you just fly away by, half the people are in the sky, so it makes the world seem way less empty. I know they said that they might be introducing flying later on in the expansion. I hope they never do. I really, really hope they never introduce flying. I think it was one of the worst ideas that they ever made for World of Warcraft was the flying mounts, but that might just be my opinion. Next good thing, crafting. Crafting is so much better in this expansion. You don't have to level up in all these other zones to get your crafting up. You can just start doing things right away. You might not get as many materials and blah, 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 which is fine. But you can start whenever you want, which is like what it should have always been. But yeah. Launch, super smooth launch from what I hear. I wasn't there, like I said, but everyone that's said that they played when it was launched, they were just sitting in the game, and then 10 minutes before it actually ticked over to midnight, you could just go and do the quest and get into Broken Isles. So let's talk about the RNG aspect of things, like how your loot can get Titan Forged, War Forged, blah, blah, blah. I think the RNG thing, it can be good. It's like a carrot and a stick, which is, what a lot of people play MMOs for. To keep wanting to play the game. It's like it adds to the flavor of wanting to keep playing the game. And that's about all I have to say about that. So let's go to what I think is bad right now in the game. Class balance for one. This is obvious. This is probably the worst state of class balance I've seen in any expansion, which, isn't getting talked about a ton. I mean, it is, but not as much as you would think it would be, mainly because everyone's just having so much fun with the game because it's such a good expansion. And let's go with Frost, DK, and Affliction Warlock, two of the worst classes in the game right now, completely not viable for dungeons at all. You will not get into dungeons. People will actually kick you. People were telling me that they would get into dungeons or they wouldn't be able to get into mythics, so they would create a mythic group, and then people would leave the group just by seeing their class in there. They're totally bad, and they need to be balanced. On the other end of the spectrum, classes that are too good, way too good, Demon Hunter, Havoc Demon Hunter, I'm looking at you. The burst DPS on Havoc Demon Hunter, oh my gosh, and AoE on everything. And then Prot Warrior. Prot Warrior has more. Ignore Pain is so OP. It's broken. It's Prot Warriors have way more defensive abilities than everyone else in the game. That Ignore Pain is just so OP. And right now, like most dungeons and raids are just, it's World of Melee right now. Really, all the melee classes are doing super good, except for us, DK. You know. And casters really don't have a chance right now. Fire mages being one of the only exceptions to that, and shadow priests are doing okay, but everything else is really bad, unless you were talking about PvP. Because then if we're talking about PvP, casters are just awful in PvP right now. It is definitely a world of melee and PvP. Melee are just, if they get on you, every melee has silences, interrupts, ways to close the distance. There's no way to get away from a melee. If melee gets on you, they're on you, and you're going to be dead in a couple globals. So that needs to be addressed. Casters need more ways to escape and more defensive and stuff like that. And then let's talk about the PvP honor tree. I think it's really dumb that you have to earn your skills that you used to have already to be able to PvP effectively. I'm like I said, I'm all about the carrot on a stick. I like that aspect. I don't like going like, because they try to balance a game like now when you go into a dungeon, or I mean a PvP area, you get balanced out basically. And so that kind of seems like they're trying to make it so that when you first hit 110 and you're like, yeah, okay, I want a PvP, you don't go into a battleground and just get destroyed like you used to. You know, you used to have to farm for weeks and weeks and weeks to be able to even survive in a battleground. But that's not the case anymore. But then they go and add honor levels where you have to earn these things. Really dumb. I think they should have just had the levels and the prestige and make a way that you could see it, or, you know, the armor or something. Anyways, lost a lot of flavor abilities, and more dumbing down of the system kind of sucks. Like they're making the game easier and easier and easier. Kind of sucks. Like I liked the difficulty of like hard rotations, and I liked old flavor abilities. That's kind of, I don't like that, but you know, it's the way they're going, and the game is still relatively difficult depending on what you're doing. For now, once you start getting gear, it's going to be meh. But yeah, the dumbing down of the system is kind of boring. And one that kind of isn't super bad, but always getting stuck in combat when I'm out in the world. I always get stuck in combat for no apparent reason. I'm just like, what is keeping me in combat? I've been in combat for 5 minutes. How the hell do I get out of this? So we did good and bad. Those are my good and bad. I know I didn't have a lot of bad, but like I said, come back in a month. Questionable legendaries. It really sucks when when you don't have a legendary, you're kind of gimped. And when you do get a legendary, you're like really good. I like that. Like I said, I like the RNG aspect. I like the carrot on the stick. What I don't like is that legendaries like really are tied into how good your class can be, and that they are RNG. But that's questionable. I mean, it could go both way for me. Attunement to things like Karazhan and stuff like that. That's questionable. I personally like the attunement. I like it that you have to be attuned to things. I like the gate. I like more time consuming things. I like that. But I realize that a lot of people don't like that. And you know that the game isn't just about me. So that's questionable. Maybe do a middle of the road, like you get attuned to things and then it attunes your account instead of just your character. That'd be probably better. Anyways, that's basically, I just wanted to get my feelings about the good and bad, questionable things about the game. I know I'm really late making the video, but I decided I might as well make it anyway so people have my opinions. But yeah, I want to know what you guys think. Things that I haven't discussed here, like maybe name one of your good and bad choices down in the comments. Things that I haven't already said, because I'm kind of trying to get like a feel for it, like, you know. Anyways, I'm streaming every day again, so if any of you guys are interested in watching my stream, like discuss some of the topics that I've talked about or talk about in the future, I'm over at twitch.tv/thatkawaiikid. Links down the bottom. Okay, bye. Forever.